Wanted to pop in, do a YouTube live, give you an update about what we can expect when it comes to our weather for this afternoon and evening specifically. We've been dealing with scattered showers this morning, but that's only going to increase in coverage and intensity. So if you can give me about 30 seconds to a minute, I'll make sure everything's working here behind the scenes, and then we'll get started. In the meantime, I'll show you those current conditions across western Montana. And as you can see from Kalispell, Missoula, Polson, it's a bit of a gloomy, cloudy day with those showers dotting the map. So, give me, like I said, give me about 30 seconds to a minute. We'll get everything working here behind the scenes, and then we'll fully get started in this update. And we are working here. All right. So I think I've got everything working here behind the scenes. Thank you all for tuning in this morning. As you're tuning in, let us know where you're watching from. And are you seeing the rain in your area, or are you still dry at this time? Feel free to add that to our chat section. But if you have any comments or questions as we go throughout this, certainly feel free to ask those, and I'll answer those to the best of my abilities as we go throughout this update. So quickly getting started, we have a low pressure system that's moving into the region. This is what's helping to bring the cloud cover that we're seeing here on our cameras across the region, as well as the rainfall that's coming down pretty decently here in Missoula right now. As for Kalispell, Polson, we saw the majority of that moisture earlier on this morning, and for Butte, as well as down towards Bozeman, Dillon, we are still quiet, though that will be changing as we get later on into the day. So the driver of this is this large trough of low pressure that's moving into the Pacific Northwest. We have southwesterly flow right on the front side of that, and that is what's going to trigger those thunderstorms later on today. Looking out a little bit wider on this satellite loop, you can see just how large this trough is, and the low pressure center kind of tucked in the middle of that. That's going to be rolling right across western Montana this afternoon and through the overnight period tonight. And this is what's going to keep us pretty active moving forward through the day. Now, jumping into current radar right now, as you can see, Butte, Bozeman, down here towards Dillon, we are quiet. But it's as we get into northwest and west central portions of the state, this is where we're dealing with some light to occasionally moderate rainfall. Most of this is now exited the Flathead Valley, though there are still a few showers from Kalispell back down into Flathead Lake, so getting in a little bit closer. US 93, Highway 35, so Lakeside, Elmo, Polson, Woods Bay, Finley Point are around Flathead Lake, dealing with some of those showers. This is going to continue to track a little bit further to the east and south, so places like Charlotte, Ronan, down to St. Ignatius, we'll see a little bit of that. We've already seen some of this rainfall, and now we're getting down into the Jocko Valley with Arlee, Frenchtown, Missoula Valley. We're seeing those showers right now. Again, nothing overly heavy. Haven't seen any lightning strikes out of this activity so far, but looking back into Idaho, that is where we're going to be keeping a closer focus or a closer attention to the redevelopment of more thunderstorms later on today, and those will be moving across the area. And we'll look at Future Tracker here in just a few minutes. Now, as for our severe weather threat today, we have seen that really designated for west central and southwestern Montana, so pretty close to the Highway 200 and US 12 corridors. This does include Missoula, Hamilton, Phillipsburg, Butte, Anaconda, as well as down towards Wise River, Wisdom. Dillon, we're right on the edge of it, so Dillon over to Ennis, we're right on the edge of that marginal risk zone. But Butte, Bozeman, Three Forks, Whitehall, Townsend, all included in this as well. Main focus for today will be the gusty outflow winds, 40 to 60 miles per hour. If we do see gusts over 58 miles per hour, that is where we get into severe criteria. But also today does run the risk of some large hail upwards to about 1 inch in diameter, maybe a localized or very isolated hailstone that's even larger than that. The higher likelihood of severe weather is actually back over into central and eastern Montana and then eventually into North Dakota. So if you have friends or family over towards Billings, Glasgow, Miles City, Glendive, give them a heads up. Let them know they could be dealing with some stronger thunderstorms for this afternoon, but even greater chances over into parts of western North Dakota where there's an enhanced risk for this afternoon, and they could be dealing with at least a higher chance of hail, winds, and maybe even a few tornadoes out there. Not expecting that here. Wind and hail is going to be our main concern, and these are going to be very isolated reports in their nature, but it wouldn't surprise me to have a few severe thunderstorm warnings later on today. Now, as for that forecast, with the widespread showers and thunderstorms we're expecting, below average conditions area-wide. We're going to see those highs ranging from the upper 60s in Kalispell through the 70s for most locations, though Bozeman with a little bit more sunshine, we could get into the lower 80s this afternoon, and those thunderstorms may actually hang on or hang off until we get into the late afternoon and evening hours, and then down towards West Yellowstone. I think most of the day we stay dry. We saw a few showers this morning, and that may end up actually being the primary show, especially if you have plans down towards Yellowstone National Park today. But further into northwest, west central Montana, and into areas near the divide in southwest Montana, it's going to be a stormy and kind of rainy day. So let's jump right into Future Tracker. It's done a pretty decent job showing the focus of this across west central and northwestern Montana. This is looking a little bit into the future at about 10:30. So right now it's 9 o'clock. So we're looking about an hour and a half ahead. But you get the idea that moderate rainfall will be possible. As we get into the early afternoon, I think 1 to 3 o'clock is when those thunderstorms will really start to blossom and tap into the instability that's in place. And we'll see those developing back into Idaho. This is looking around 4:30. So on this stretch from really Interstate 90 and south and west central Montana will be the focus of that. And that could impact your plans if you're going to downtown tonight, the Western Montana Fair here in Missoula, or even Music on Main in Butte and Bozeman. Showers and thunderstorms could impact all of those events throughout the afternoon. One trend in this particular run of the forecast model, storms aren't quite getting as intense as they were earlier on in models from yesterday and this morning. Part of the reason for that may be the extra cloud cover helping to keep the instability down. But even that said, I don't want you to kind of let your guard down. We could still be dealing with some strong to marginally severe thunderstorms, even though the models may be a little bit weaker overall in the intensity. This is just a possibility. Mother Nature is going to do what Mother Nature is going to do. We're just going to have to act and be prepared for what happens as it develops. So, long story short, just be prepared for some stronger thunderstorms today, even if they're going to be, pretty isolated in nature. Now, getting later on into the evening, we're still dealing with rain for the I-90 corridor from Missoula back down to Butte, as well as into the Bitterroot Valley, the Big Hole Valley as well. But notice places like Dillon, West Yellowstone, and Bozeman, for the most part, we stay dry to this point. Kalispell, we may stay dry after the morning rain that we've seen already. But continuing on, there is going to be the chance for some thunderstorms down towards Bozeman, I think, as we get more into that 7 to 11 o'clock period. This particular run of the model keeps those a little bit further north, up into Broadwater County, places like Townsend and Toston, but this just as easily could be further south into, say, Madison and Gallatin counties as compared to what they're showing here. So, just in general, really in this zone, west central and northern southwestern Montana, showers and thunderstorms could get on the more rambunctious side later on today. Overnight, we will see a general diminishment in the shower activity. It's not going to completely go away, but it's going to become more isolated in nature as the low-pressure system pushes off further to the east. And there is even the chance for some very high-elevation snow. We're talking like 8 to 9,000 feet, so the very highest peaks, where a little bit of snow may try and mix in on the backside of this low-pressure system overnight. We will be primarily dry for Friday morning, but notice with this wraparound moisture, the lows still pushing off to the east, we could see some thunderstorms showers develop again for northwest and west central Montana. They're going to be more spotty in nature as compared to the storms we're going to see this afternoon. But could be another good day to bring the rain gear just in case. I think once you get south of this Butte-Bozeman line, we should stay dry. Most of that energy continues to track off to the north and east. If you have plans up in Glacier National Park, that's where we could be dealing with at least a better chance of some weak thunderstorms for Friday afternoon. Those showers may even linger into early Saturday morning with the clouds still wrapping around, but I think by Saturday afternoon, we're looking much quieter and much drier, and you'll see that in our precipitation forecast. Ooh, let's get that back into focus. There we go. That's a little bit better. Yeah, that's a little bit better. We'll drop that precipitation down to really maybe a 10% chance at tops Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. There's still going to be just enough moisture that some of our higher elevations may pick up a little weak shower for the afternoon hours. Now, as we get ready to wrap this up, I do want to do a quick touch on our fires across the area. As has been the case for the most part in western Montana, our fire activity has been quite low. We've seen, a few smaller fires. Biggest one recently has been the Lost Horse Observation Point fire, which was over 100 acres. Looking at the Lee Creek fire, that's only about 2 acres right now, just between Lolo Pass and Lolo Hot Springs. The Dominic Point fire, which sits just over 30 acres, is getting more and more contained by the day, and this rain is certainly going to help that. And we have the Gill Gulch fire, which is our newest fire, at least within our part of the state, out there towards areas north of Avon and Elliston, south and east of Ovando, and south and west of the Lincoln area. That one's up to just under 30 acres at this time. The biggest fires we're dealing with are actually these over into Idaho. We've been talking about the Big Bear and Rush fires for quite a while now. Those are, the Big Bear fire is over 14,000 acres, nearly 15,000 acres. The Rush fire is a little over 7,000 acres. But in recent days, we've seen the Elkhorn, Artillery, and Placer fires, all roughly in the same location, start up. The Lark fire and the Island Creek fire, which have been helping to bring some smoke into southwestern Montana and even west central portions of the state. The Island Creek is actually probably the most active of the fires, at least in our nearby region, right at this time. That one's sitting roughly 600 acres. And then we go further north, the Lightning Creek fire, which is one that's just over the state line into the Idaho Panhandle, burning around 2,400 acres, with some smaller fires, the Castle Rock, Tioga, and Hemlock Creek fires, and the Hope fire, which, if you've watched these over recent weeks, we've been talking about that one. It's been, more of a steady state type of fire, but still, all of those are producing a little bit of smoke that has been moving into northwest Montana. With this northwesterly flow, or at least the storm system rolling in, we could see a brief increase in the amount of wildfire smoke in our region, as well as a diminishment in air quality. Right now, it's not a huge diminishment, though, so hopefully that'll stay that way. With the much cooler temperatures, the rainfall, that's really going to limit how much those fires are able to burn, releasing all that smoke, and how much they grow. So good news there, and really with cool temperatures likely sticking around into the weekend and early next week. It's going to be warming up, but it's not going to get hot by any means, especially for average this time of the year. So right now, keeping fingers crossed that we keep our fire weather concerns far more limited as what they could be for this time of the year. So let me finish this up. This is going to be the last graphic that I have, so if you have any questions or comments, again, this is kind of a last call for that, so feel free to ask those. Really what we're tracking here are the headlines. Isolated to scattered thunderstorms for this afternoon. Some of those could be strong to severe in southwest and west central Montana. Friday, we are going to see those isolated showers and thunderstorms continuing, especially for areas along and west of the divide. Overall, the intensity and coverage of these should be much, much lower. And then we head into this weekend, and we're going to be looking at drier conditions, warmer conditions, with temperatures warming to near seasonable averages. So we're talking mid to upper 80s across the region. There could be a few low 90s starting as early as Sunday, but most likely Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. But overall, again, we're just exiting the hottest period of the year, which is the first week of August. And at least for most of our area, we haven't seen a 100-degree day just yet. And, hopefully, especially for those of you who do not enjoy the heat, this is probably music to your ears with the likelihood of, warming up into the upper 80s and lower 90s. Maybe by the end of next week, we're seeing those temperatures cooling back down into the 70s again with another storm system. Right now, things look pretty dry with that one, but a cold front coming through, helping to keep those temperatures down. It might actually kind of feel a little bit more like fall in a few locations between the rain today and the cooler temperatures. So a little bit of a break from summer in the with some fall-like conditions. So thank you all for tuning in this morning. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, stay dry, and if you have outdoor plans, especially for west central and southwestern Montana, download the NBC Montana weather app, as we could be dealing with severe thunderstorms, but also have a backup plan, an indoor plan, in case some of these thunderstorms really start to get going. You could see rapidly changing weather conditions, and as always, when thunder roars, go indoors. But also, I will say this, and this is only if you can do so safely. If you have some of these thunderstorms roll through your area and you can, say, take a photo or video from inside your house, certainly feel free to share those with us at nbcmontana.com/chime-in. You might see your photos on air and online. And then, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can think of off the top of my head. That's pretty much everything I have. Tune into our live broadcasts tonight at 5, 6, and 10 for the latest news and weather updates. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, I'll be back on NBC Montana Today with Jason Hurst starting at 5 o'clock. Overall, should be looking at much quieter weather once we get beyond today's severe weather threats. So with that, I will wrap this up. Have a great rest of the day. Stay safe, stay dry, and I'll see you all on the next one. With NBC Montana, I'm meteorologist Mitchell Coombs.